Hi student, hope you all are fine. Happy Ramzan. Here's some biology. Today our topic is on sensory neuron. Sensory neuron is that type of the neuron that carry information from our sense organ toward the brain. In our body, I have 5 type of the sense organ. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin. These 5 type of the sense organ stimulate from our surrounding environment. So we take one example of our sense organ out of the 5. Skin. So skin have consist on the touch receptors. Here is a touch receptors. Like eye consist on the vision receptors, and ear consist on the hear receptors, nose consist on the smell receptors, and tongue consist on the taste receptors. So every sense organ consists on the sensory receptors that receive the external stimulus. So here is a skin. Skin consists on the touch receptors. This is the touch receptors, and we call these peripheral sensory receptors. Peripheral sensory receptors. Sensory receptors. These peripheral sensory receptors consist on the touch receptors. If anyone touch our skin, these receptors stimulate. This is the touch receptors. Touch receptor that present at the nerve ending of the sensory neuron. These touch receptors receive the touch stimulates and convert these touch stimulus into the nerve impulse through the process of the transduction. This process is called transduction. So touch receptors convert the touch stimulus into the touch stimulus into the nerve impulse. This process is called transduction. So these nerve impulse travels through these nerve and nerve fibers. These nerve fiber travel these nerve impulse toward the brain. So these nerve fibers travel these nerve impulse toward the brain, and this is called the afferent nervous system. Afferent. This is called the afferent that carries information towards the cell body. So cell body in sensory neuron have short side chain, like the short side chain. The nucleus So dendrites carries nerve impulse toward the cell body. So this is the dendrites. So in sensory neuron have long dendrites. This is called dendrites that carry nerve impulse toward the cell body. Dendrites. This is cell body. And this is axon, short axon, that carry nerve impulse away from the cell body. So in motor neuron have long axon and short dendrites, but in sensory neuron have long dendrites and short axon. So this cell body is in sensory neuron. Cell body is present near the spinal cords. So here is cross sections of the spinal cord. Spinal cord. So nerve impulse enter into the spinal cords to the brain. So brain read which type of the stimulus is so like other neurons, like motor neurons, dendrites also have myelin sheath that protect the nerve, nourish the nerve, and protect, nourish, and speed up the nerve impulse. So this is myelin sheath. Myelin sheath. Myelin sheath consists on the Schwann cells. This is cell. Hundreds of the Schwann cells make the myelin sheath. This is the Schwann cell. Schwann cell. So Schwann cells made the myelin sheath. Myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is fatty sheath. Schwann cells secrete the fat. These fat is produced from the Schwann cell, and that protect the, nourish the, and speed up the nerve impulse. So myelin sheath is made up of the secrete the fats. That's why our nerve impulse look like white, because fat is present in our nerve impulse. Schwann cells made the myelin sheath. So as a little gap is present, little gap is present between these Schwann cells, is called the neurofibril node or node of Renware. Neurofibril node of Renware. This neurofibril node of Renware is very important because nerve impulse is jump from one node to another node, one node to another node, one node to another node, that facilitate the speed up nerve impulse. So nerve impulse jump from one node to another, one node to another, one node to another. So in this way, speed of the nerve impulse become fast to the node of the Renware. This process, this jumping process of the nerve impulse is called saltatory transmission. Saltatory transmission. Transmission. This process of the jumping of the nerve impulse from one node to another, one node to another, this process is called saltatory transmission. So nerve impulse enter into the cell body and cell body toward the axon, and axon transferred these sensory nerve impulse into the spinal cord, and spinal cord transferred these nerve impulse into the brain, and brain read which type of the nerve impulse, which type of the sensory stimulus, or this is VN stimulus, or hair stimulus, or touch stimulus, or taste stimulus, or smell stimulus. Brain read this. So we at the end revised sensory neuron is that type of the neuron that carry information from our sense organ toward the brain. We take one example of the sense organ is skin. Skin consists on the touch receptors. Every our sense organ consists on the sensory receptors. I have already discussed, like eye consist on the VN receptors, hair consist on the air consist on the hair receptors, nose consist on the smell receptors, tongue consist on the taste receptors, skin consist on the touch receptors. So it is skin. Suppose this is our hand. This is skin receptor consist on the touch receptors. So this is nerve ending of the nerve fibers, the nerve ending touch receptors. So these touch receptors, when anyone touch our skin, these touch receptors stimulate. The stimulus is transferred into the nerve impulse through the process of the transduction. This stimulus transfer into the nerve impulse through the nerve ending and enter into the nerve fibers. This long nerve fiber is dendrites. So the process of the transduction, touch stimulus change into the nerve impulse, and this nerve impulse travel through these long dendrites into the cell body, and through the cell body short axon travel this nerve impulse into the spinal cord to the brain. Brain read this is the touch stimulus. So in sensory neuron, long dendrites and short axon, but in motor neuron, short dendrites and long axon. And dendrites is always like motor neuron, and sensory neuron. Dendrites are neurons is protected from the myelin sheath. Myelin sheath consists of the hundreds of the Schwann cells. These Schwann cells secretes the myelin. Myelin is a fat that protect the nerves, nourish the nerves, protect from the damage, and also is a heal the wound. These myelin heal the wound if any damage is produced in the nerves. These myelin sheath heal these wound, protect the nerves, and they nourish the nerves and speed up of the nerve impulse. So this myelin sheath secrete the fat. Fat is white in color, so our nerves look like white. So nerve impulse, due to this myelin sheath, speed up of the nerve impulse become so fast. Why? Because this is the space between these Schwann cells. This space speed up the nerve impulse. This space is called neurofibril nodes of Renwer. Renwer is a scientist that discovered this space. So nerve impulse jump from one nodes to another, one nodes to another to another. This process is called saltatory transmission. Saltatory transmission. This saltatory transmission. So these nerve impulse enter into the cell body. Cell body in the sensory neurons is like the little side branch like sensory neuron structure is different from the motor neuron structures. So this is a nucleus, and nerve impulse travel from cell body to the axon. Is a little short than the dendrites. Axon travel this nerve impulse into the spinal cord. This is a spinal cord cross sections, and spinal cord transfer this nerve impulse into the brain, and brain read which type of the nerve impulse is like the touch. So this is our today topic. Hope you understand it. Hope you clearly understand it. Be happy. Do hard work. Okay. Bye. Allah Hafiz.